So I'm Ali. We are a military family. I have one son who's 12, and we are currently posted overseas to Kuwait. So we still have to follow the UK government guidelines when it comes to home education. But we love the freedom that comes from no curriculum, and we just kind of do what feels right for our son.
You are living in another country following a British curriculum.
So Kuwait, it kind of has the same sort of thing as do what works for you when it comes to home education. So we do a lot of AQAs. We do a lot of projects with him. To be honest, when we first started our learning journey, I spent hundreds of pounds on, I suppose, online curriculum, workbooks, and we were miserable. It didn't work for us. So we kind of then sort of changed our views, and we're so much, I would say it's a complete contradiction, but we are semi-structured, informal, no structure kind of learning. It's whatever our son feels like needs on the day is what we do.
Yeah, and you say that you follow government guidelines. What does that mean? What does that mean for you guys?
So I think that's where it says we have the freedom. We don't have to follow a curriculum. I don't have to be qualified to teach him. We don't have to have a timetable. Again, when we first started home education, I had a timetable and it was quite structured, and it was like at 9 o'clock, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do, and it didn't work for us. So I suppose by understanding the government guidelines saying you don't have to have that, go at what works for us. So I think the hardest part of our home education was me letting go of the standard structures of it and kind of going with the flow of what my son needed rather than, well, I think we need to do this. So there's quite a bit of panic on my side from, oh, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. And I think for me, learning the difference between, you have within the guidelines, it says you need to do numeracy and literacy, which is actually different to maths and English. And I was quite panicking to, oh, we haven't done this, we haven't done. Well, actually, we do cover it. It's just we don't often sit at the desk and do writing and workbooks. It doesn't work for us. But yeah, my son is achieving so much more now than he ever did at school, because we're doing it a different way, his way. It's not really my way. It's his way.
Why did you start home educating, if you don't mind my asking?
It was always, we'd always decided when he was younger that he wouldn't go to a mainstream secondary school. So in primary school, my son had an EHCP, and it helped, but it wasn't perfect for him, and he was struggling. So we'd always said by the time he gets to secondary, he won't go to mainstream school. We had no idea what to do at that point. We didn't really know a lot about home education. We just thought we're going to find another way for him. And then in year 5 of primary, it kind of came to a head, and it was just, this is not working now. Do we then wait another 2 years, or do we do something now? So we said, well, let's do it now. Let's just figure it out as we go, because school is not for him. And he was miserable. He was upset. It was, why am I having to bribe and negotiate with my child to get him into school, have the tears, have the tantrums, when there has to be another way to do it? And that's kind of where we ended up with, well, okay, let's look into home education and let's see how we go. And it's by far the best thing we've ever done. For him, for me, I learn a lot. I know things I didn't know before, and I'm like, wow. So it's a bit of a journey for both of us.
It sounds like you've kind of gone through the motions with the school system. You did try, and that's what you always wanted. But then obviously if it doesn't work, you're then forced, aren't you, to kind of look at, well, okay, what else can I do? And it sounds like even your home educating journey has changed and evolved as time's gone on.
Massively. It's especially because we started home educating while we were here in England, and then 6 months into our our home education, we moved to Q8. So we had a whole nother thing to try and figure out. And it was nervous, you know, we were a little bit scared, but it was like, well, let's just try. If we don't try, we won't know. So we did. And we're all loving it. It's the best thing we could have done. And yeah, our son he has developed so much more than we ever thought he would. And he's learned more, and he has life skills, as well as, I would say, as well as the traditional learning of being able to read and write and everything else. He has developed in ways that I would never have imagined him being able to do if he'd have stayed at school. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
yeah, I mean, just getting him on a plane and taking him through an airport, that's a life skill, right?
Yeah.
You know, going through those processes, you're not necessarily doing any sit down pen to paper learning, but just that little bit on its own, is a huge life skill, you know. And then all the things about being in another country, learning another culture, you know, trying out different foods and maybe another language, you know, all those things. It's all learning, isn't it? But it just looks different to sitting in a room. I always say, you know, you don't need to be in an institution to learn. It's not something that is done to you. It's something that, you know, you just do in life innately, isn't it? When you're in situations that have those kind of opportunities and you feel safe enough to engage with that.
Yeah. I mean, this morning, so we're staying with family at the moment, and this morning he was downstairs baking because we had other family coming over. So it's like, okay, well, that's learning. And he did it all himself, and he's so much more engaging. I think my biggest fear when we decided to home educate was social. How on earth are we going to meet his social needs?
This is a big one. So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think when he went to school, I perhaps misunderstood what socializing was, because you're in a classroom, you're with other kids, therefore he's socializing. But actually, to me, that's not, because he was always the kid that at playtime sat in the corner by himself. He didn't want to engage. He didn't want to be around the people that he was around. So I'm like, well, is that really socializing? Maybe that's me. Maybe that's my under. But now he's a social little butterfly now. We are out all the time, and he will actively seek to engage and talk to people, whereas before it was almost like, go on, so go and say something, go and talk to them, it's okay. Whereas now he's actively wanting to talk to people, and we take him to places in QA. It's amazing, the facilities they have. And he's made friends from, I mean, they're not just Kuwaitis where we are, they have a lot of other nationalities as well. So he's making friends of all different nationalities. Brilliant. And, you know, they're all very understanding with his English, and he's trying to learn a bit of their language. So I'm like, wow, he's learning and he's socializing. It's amazing for him.
Wonderful. It sounds like he's doing so well. So how do you manage? So you are part of the LCB community. You've been doing the AQA Unit Awards with us. How long have you been doing that with us now?
We started in 2023.
It's a couple of years now.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you find out about us and come into the community? And how then do you manage to do it from another country? Talk us through that process.
So I think I just found you originally just from a random Google internet search, and I thought, oh, that sounds really interesting, because it's not sit down at your desk, write for hours, and again, it's another way to do something. And I think that's our family motto, another way of doing it, because that seems to be how we just approach life. If you're told to do it one way and you go, well, surely there's another way. So that seems to be how we sort of progress with things. And then we started, so I print out the workbooks. He then decides what ones he wants to do, and he does them. And it started off that he could only do the orange ones, so like the easier ones. And then he started doing the green ones, which are the slightly harder ones. And now he does the purple. So he has the whole selection to choose from, and he'll pick 6, 7, 8, whatever ones he wants to do, and he will do them, we'll work through them. There's always some kind of building and hands-on, especially when it's like he'll think about it and go, I can build something from Lego, or he does some computer design. I think there was one where he got to, oh, I think I froze again. There was one where he got to do a junkyard robot. That was by far his favorite. It's just so many different hands-on elements for him with minimal writing, and we use Canva for mind maps. And again, he's able to give the information without actually realizing he's doing it. So again, it's another way for him to achieve something without being sat at his desk being told do that, because that doesn't work for him. He's still putting pen to paper, but he just doesn't, it doesn't register with him that he's actually doing a workbook, because he's enjoyed the learning topic around it. And we'll do a workbook, but then it always expands. So we always end up doing a Google search on something that he's picked up from the workbook, because he wants to then do additional learning. So we've just done the paleontology with the dinosaur and the fossil, and he was like, well, he had more questions than he did from the workbook. Well, let's look it up then. So we've looked into that as well. So it's always so much more than what is in the workbook for him.
Yeah, that's the idea. So it allows for some learning. The workbooks are kind of designed as a kind of, can you just show us that you've learned this, and do you know what this is, rather than, you know, can you write a report about this or do a diary entry? It's so boring. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are kids that thrive off that, but and adults as well. But I think when you're sort of the type of child that doesn't like to write a lot, and then you're sort of being asked to sort of do one thing after another, pen to paper all the time, it can feel quite monotonous. So you have to mix it up, and you have to kind of let them be individual and go and do their things. And then, of course, it's what you're saying as well. They can kind of pick a topic, and they're not confined to this curriculum, and they only can do this because this is what the outcome suggests. They're free to go off and jump into those rabbit holes and explore a little bit further. And that's where the really good stuff is a lot of the times, you know. So that's where they find their interests.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my learning style is very different from his. So I have to remember sometimes, this is about his journey, not my. I would quite happily sit at a desk for 7 hours a day doing a workbook. That would be my way, but it's not his way. So I have to give him the freedom to explore his learning in his way. Which, correct. Yeah, he's doing well.
It sounds like he's thriving. So logistically then, how does it work? What do we do? I don't actually know. I'm genuinely asking. What do we post it to you in Kuwait?
Pardon? No, so I get I have the link to the workbooks, and then I print them off. He does the work. I have a scanning app that I scan all his workbooks into. Then I email it into you, and then I get a lovely email back to say yes, or he's almost but not quite, work on this bit. So, and oh, he loves the certificates. When the certificate comes, I'm like, look, that workbook that you did. And he's like, workbook? Yeah, it's a work. Oh, okay. The certificate. And he's like, oh, he loves getting the certificates. It makes him so excited.
Do they come to you in the UK, or do they come to you abroad?
They come to us. We have an address based in the UK, so it comes there. We don't tend to get post in Kuwait. It's a non-existent thing.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah. So, and then when they arrive, they get opened up, and then he's sort of shown all the ones that he's got, and then when we come back to the UK, he gets to actually physically see them. So
what changes have you seen, and what sort of progress have you seen in him holistically in that time period?
So his confidence in his own abilities. I find when he went to school, there was a do it this way. If you haven't done it this way, it's not right. And I had a falling out with a teacher about that one time, because he's quite an out of the box thinker. So since he's been doing the LCB, it gives him the freedom to express his view. It might be, yes, you're looking for a certain answer, but I think he's able to come to what is needed because he's able to think about it. And if he doesn't understand it, then we Google it and we look more into it. So I would definitely say his own independence. He's more willing to do a workbook because he doesn't know he's doing a workbook. And he's more willing to take, I would almost say, ownership of his learning, in the fact that he knows that the work he puts into it is his. And the answers he gives are his own. And then getting the certificate at the end of it, well, that's just the bonus, because it shows he's understood what was asked of him.
Yeah, that's a real depth of understanding as well, you know, because
yeah.
he's essentially just giving what probably to him feels like an opinion on something, you know. So what do you think of fossils? What are fossils? And he's just kind of writing down what he thinks, you know, from based on what he's learned. And that is very critical thinking and independent learning, and taking, like, as you say, ownership of it, which is exactly what you want him to be, really. Why are these certificates important?
I think they're important to him because to him, it shows that he's understood what he's been doing. To me, it kind of, I suppose it validates me that I'm perhaps on the right track with his learning. It shows that he is learning something. He is progressing. So I'm quite an old school kind of learner, that having this freedom that I give him, it does scare me a little bit, because I as the parent, I want to know I'm doing a good job and I'm facilitating his education in the way that he needs it to be. So I suppose for me, these certificates are a little bit of a, yes, he's got it. That might not make a lot of sense, but I think...
No, you're not alone at all. What you're saying is spot on. And the mum guilt thing is real. You want to know that you're doing the absolute best, don't you? And when you're stepping into territory that is alien to you, to try and do the best for your child, that can be the hardest thing in the world, because you've got no idea. You get it right?
Yeah. I don't want to get him to get to 18 and go, oh, mum, you did a really bad job there. I want him to be able to look back and go, you know, he's learned something because of the way I have allowed him to learn. And that's very much my thing with him, is not everyone learns the same way. And again, I come back to my learning style is different to his, which is different to my husband's. We would all learn something differently and still perhaps have the same outcome. So it's just find what works for each person. And I have to remember as the parent to give him that freedom, to not go, no, you know what, let's just do a workbook, when he goes, I don't want to do a workbook. But that's how, because he could sit and he could do a workbook for half an hour, and I could ask him at the end of it, what have you learned from that? I don't know. You asked me to do the workbook, therefore I did it. I didn't learn anything. Whereas when we do, certainly when we're doing the LCBs and we're doing a unit project, he'll come out of it and he will actually be able to go and tell someone, I did that and I did that and I made that and I learned that. He can actually go and relay information that he's learned because he's chosen to learn it.
What you just described there, Ali, is to go and do the workbook because I've told you to. That's the behaviorism approach. And the unit study, where you go off and do, you know, let him to explore it and sort of do it in the way he wants. That's more of a progressivism approach. And you're actually using it's scientific. It's not a coincidence. You're using a different approach, and that approach actually works really, really well for him. And just recognizing it, even if it's hard to appreciate, you know, because you're a different type of learner and a different approach would have been okay for you, like a behaviorism approach, especially back in the day, right? We're all of an age, right, where when we were at school or not, you know, however our education looked, you know, life in general was quite behaviorism, wasn't it? You got told what to do and you did it, and you didn't really question the system so much. I think as we've evolved, as sort of generations have evolved, especially the last sort of 30 years or so, we are questioning things more, and the world is changing around us as well. And we're recognizing that actually there are better ways for some, especially for some children, to actually gain an understanding of the world around them. And the fact that you can do that, even though it's an uncomfortable space for you, because you don't, you know, you've never sort of experienced that throughout your entire life, but you can still kind of engage with that and let him have that freedom. Hats off to you, because that's not an easy thing to do. You know, it's your child's education, you know, it's not a big thing.
It's terrifying. It's
Absolutely.
terrifying being the one who is solely responsible for giving an education to my child. It's terrifying. But I think when I see how he's progressed in his learning, in himself, he's a totally different child, confidence wise. And I'd like to think that if nothing else, that's what I've given him, the chance to be himself, not to conform, not to just go with the flow because that's what the system has said has been in place for years. And it's okay to challenge things. Don't just blindly go along with it because someone has told you to. So I think even me as the parent, I've grown in that respect, that actually just because my mum went to school and I went to school and everyone I know has gone to school, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's best for my son.
That's right. And I think as well, when I said to you, what's the value of the certificates? The three things that you said to me were independence. It's given him independence. It's given him confidence. It's given him freedom. At no point did you say he's moved from this level to this level, or we are ticking these boxes, or he's getting these qualifications. Because ultimately, when you really look at a human as an entire human, that's not the only thing that matters. He's learning. We know he's learning. And the things that you're describing are the whole child. And actually, all of that is important. And, you know, he's making progress in all the areas he should be, you know, and you don't need to measure it. You don't need to have numbers and levels. And, you know, the green book and the orange book is quite enough, really, isn't it? I'll do a little bit of the green and then a bit of the orange, and that'll do, you know, and he's happy. And that's the main thing.
He does. And it kind of, it filters in. I think the confidence he's got from his learning, he's taken into other aspects of his life as well now. So when we moved to QA, we were like, oh, what do we needed to make friends. So we joined the local sailing school. So he's now a very accomplished youth sailor. He's completed all the courses, and now he helps other children learn to sail, because I could never have imagined him doing that before even home education, before any of it. It's just, he's transformed himself. And I think that that's the value of the education that he's been allowed to have.
Wonderful. So what's next then, Ali? What do you think the next few years look like for you, education-wise?
So it might be that he's doing functioning skills at the moment. We might continue with that. We might look to do maybe NVQs, or he might just go, I don't want to do any of it. So we'll carry on as we are for as long as it works for him. I think there's a lot of pressure put on children to do GCSEs, particularly when they're not ready. So if he says, I don't want to do them, fine. If he then says when he's 18, 19, 20, oh, you know what, I'd like to go and do one. Okay, let's prep for it. Let's get ready for it. He thinks he would like to go along the sort of PE route. He loves activities. Like I say, he does a sailing, gymnastics. So he's very active. If you want to do something down, fine. I'm a qualified personal trainer. I'm more than happy to help him in that aspect without needing to do the formal route. I think it's the fact of sitting in a room on his own, having to answer questions that probably, you know, I get into an exam and I go, oh, I don't remember my name. I go blank, and the same thing would happen to him. So it's like, why put him under that pressure? If he's already telling me, if he's telling me that's not what he wants, fine. We'll figure it out as we go.
You're doing absolutely the right thing, and I think you're living proof that there is clearly another way. This is the title of my book, and we keep saying it. I feel like I'm just sitting here selling my book. There is another way. There is another way.
Yeah, I'm very much on board with that. I don't, and I think certainly as I've been a sort of a parent, more since I've become a home educator, it's just, don't follow the system because the system is there and tells you that you should. Find a way that works for you. I mean, even when Logan was a baby, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I followed the books, I followed the rules, I followed the guidance, and it didn't work. And we were miserable. So we found another way and went, well, that works better.
Okay. That's really good advice. I'm sure that lots of people watching this will take a lot away from that. Thank you so much for sharing your very interesting life with us and the journey that you've been on so far. I'm so pleased on a personal level that we can help in a small way at LCB Education. And yeah, we absolutely wish you all the best with it all. Do keep in touch with us, and yeah, let us know how you're getting on.
Yeah, we will do. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for talking to me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.